Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really cool knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the new Kunwu Padre in Vanax, which is awesome. Titanium, textured titanium and Vanax. Wow, this knife is available. It is definitely one of the very best priced Vanax knives on the market. And they're heat treating it correctly too. No surprise there, it's Kunwu. They've been doing some pretty awesome stuff lately. I will link this knife right down in the description. You can absolutely go down there and pick it up if you want to. It does help my channel if you use those links before you buy things. But that's entirely up to you. Thanks to Kunwu for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's get this out of the way right now. I know a lot of people have been saying, that look like a copy of the Rotten Evil. Yeah, so let me put these two side by side. I don't think it's any secret that the knife was inspired by it, but the handle shape, it curves. That is the only similarity in the handle shape, but it also has the choke up spot. Yeah, so do a bunch of knives, right? I mean, Strider for sure, Rick Hinderer, the Demko knives in general, Spyderco Shaman, right? So no, I won't accept that. Sorry. The back of this is totally different. The pocket clip is completely different. It is a frame lock. You could say that. The hole placement is in kind of the same place, but that's generally where you're going to put it. The shape of it is different. The only thing that's really similar is the general profile of the blade. This actually has two swedges, whereas the Rotten Evo does not. It's got a deeper swedge up top. But yeah, it has a sort of clip point, large belly, right? I mean, the geometry is a little bit different. If that's still not enough for you, I'll end it with this. If we're going to say that it's a copy because the profile is the same, well, then any drop point blade in existence is technically a copy of the bug out, and that's a silly statement. So, no. There's way too many differences here. I mean, again, like I said, it probably was inspired by, but a copy would be an exact duplication of something. That's how it works in the knife world. A copy, where it gets down to be like, hey, there's something fishy going on here, is when it's an exact duplication. And that is not what's happening here. This is still its own thing, and I'm going to review it as its own thing. I love this profile. Some of my favorite knives ever have a very, very similar ergonomic profile in combination with the opening hole. I like that, and I'm glad that we have designers that sort of borrow elements and kind of make it their own thing. I think that's really cool. Let me go ahead here and measure the thing. Should have had my measuring tape out, ready to go. Overall length of the Padre is coming in at 8 inches on the dot. The blade length is coming in about 3.3, maybe 3.35, and your cutting edge is 3 inches on the dot. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons here up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. Full-size knife, not quite as long as the Rat 1. Let's put it up against the Demko AD 20.5. Kind of see what I'm talking about here. We have the primary grip position being here, similar. And then we have the forward choil area, right? That's just kind of how it works with knives that have good ergonomics, or at least my preference in ergonomics. Excuse me. Had an Ultra Sunrise monster before this review, so it's one of my, I think that's probably my favorite. How about up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3? Had trouble deploying it for some reason. And then probably the most comparable size is going to be the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue. We'll go ahead and put it up against the bug out. But yeah, basically the same overall length as the bug out. How's the action on this guy? This guy is a titanium frame lock. Kunwu knows how to do this. Opening hole, fantastic. Very easy to deploy it via the hole, whether you like to do the reverse flick or you like to do just thumb flick it out. And you can also front flip it. If you don't like front flippers, you can completely and totally ignore the fact that it has a front flipper because it is just barely, and it's a little triangle, right? It's nothing, but it's done correctly. Man, the designer behind these knives is just so, it everything's in the right place. I like that we've got extra lips of steel in there. I don't know, it makes everything feel a little extra grabby. That hole is like perfectly shaped for a finger to, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost, I don't know if they did this on purpose, but the shape is like, it's like a fingertip shape. Not just an oval or a rectangle. It's like the shape of a tip of a finger being squished into a hole, right? So I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but it works really, really well. The D10 is tuned perfectly for this knife. The click. Wonderful. The action's perfect. Plenty of access to the lock bar, even though we don't have the initial side cut lower. We have a perfect amount of scalloping, soft scalloping, not hard scalloping, in order for you to squish your thumb in there and disengage the lock with ease. Wonderful. How about carry profile? Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's really not all that thick. The scales are they slightly contoured? No, they're flat. They're flat. It's about the same, honestly. I mean, maybe, no, it's almost exactly the same as the Spyderco Para 3. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is a fairly tall blade. So at maximum height, we are actually in almost exactly the same spot as the hump on the Spyderco Para 3. You might notice that dimension, right? Materials, Vanax, freaking awesome. God, I wish we would see more Vanax. Kunwu's doing stuff with Vanax right now, and they are nailing that heat treat. So the benefits of Vanax are, I believe, similar edge retention to S45VN, which is great. It's very easy, well, as far as super steels go, very easy to touch up and resharpen. It boasts incredible corrosion resistance to the point where you basically don't have to worry about it. The balance of this composition, and you know, it also yields reasonable toughness as well. So the balance of Vanax is very, very preferable, especially if you work with your knives all day and you're putting it into a sweaty pocket or you're working around water, stuff like that. This is a fantastic steel. It's a great balance, and it's also not cheap. It is not cheap at all. This is expensive stuff. This is one of those situations. Normally I say, don't put so much stock into the materials, blah, 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 right? Except there are some cases where it's like, yeah, certain materials, certain blade compositions are definitely substantially more expensive than others. Vanax is very expensive. It's amazing to me that he's able to do this at the price that he's doing it. And at the quality, the level of quality here, the execution of this stuff is just fantastic. So yeah, that's not an element to take lightly of this. It's pretty cool. So Vanax, and then we have beautifully textured titanium. We'll talk more about that. We have a Damascus pivot collar. WTF. Milled backspacer, full titanium backspacer, and milled pocket clip, unique clip that is also reversible. Nice work there, Kunwu. And look how he did this. Beautiful. It mounts on top, 2 screws, wide enough to where it won't wiggle, and it just utilizes the same screw holes on the other side, so no filler tab. Just, It's just beautiful when companies get stuff like that right. Not because I tell them to, but because this is a real knife designer. It's not somebody just slapping something together, right? This is a real, thoughtful designer. It's good stuff. I gotta stop. I gotta put this knife away. I just realized I had this out while I'm waving my hands around. Not safe. But yeah, let's go ahead and weigh it. I bet it approaches or goes over 5 ounces. That'd be my guess. A little over. 5.04 ounces. That's about what I expected. On the inside, we do have a little bit of weight reduction. Do I need my flashlight? There it is. Thing's sitting on a different shelf today. We do have a little bit of weight reduction milled into the scales, so that's nice. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm actually just going to bring this tray down here. Get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. This is a T8. Can we see it? There we go. The pivot is almost certainly a T8. It is. The body screws are T8. The pocket clip screws are T8. The lock bar insert screw is a T6, but that's fine. You should never be taking that out. There's literally no reason to do that. We have 3 screws on each side, but you know what? I'm okay with that because they're all T8, and he did that so that the clip could mount this way. So that's great. Super easy to take apart. T8, wonderful. Happy with that. Oh, blade stock thickness. We got to do that. Okay, blade stock thickness on the Padre is it's actually thinner than I thought it was going to be. It's coming in at 137 thousandths. That's about middle of the road. About a 135 is what I consider to be about the middle of the road for the knife world. Okay, meat and potatoes time. Wow. Yeah, these designs work. Ergonomically, this thing is wonderful. The curvature, sort of that banana-shaped curvature, works really, really well. It's very natural in a standard position. It is just perfection in the choked up position. God, this is just so wonderful. Jimping complements the position of the index finger, but if you want to bring it up here, oh boy, howdy, is that nice. Yeah, that blade shape is cool. I can understand why we have a few different designers, borrowing it. I don't know that the designer of the Evo, the Rotten Evo, didn't borrow that, elements of the blade from some other knife maker or some other shape, right? It is certainly not the first time that this blade shape has popped into existence. Absolutely not. It almost is like the pirate sword blade shape, or the, what do they call that? Not a scimitar. It's that, you can go back and watch the first Peter Pan, and one of the freaking pirates has a dagger that's shaped almost exactly the same way. Put a hole in it, and that's what it looks like, right? But it works. And also the flat, by the way, carries out 65, 70% the length. That's 65% the length of the blade, but there's a lot of room to drop down to so thin. It doesn't, if you want it, people wondering about food prep, the initial part of the blade to contact, it's always about laying the blade flat, right? You could come to the edge of the table and do it, but if you're going to lay it flat down, the blade doesn't start to contact until about here. So this back edge isn't going to work, right? So if you're rock chopping, it's not going to work with this. But the blade will slice, it will cut, it will poke, definitely. Beautiful, beautiful Van X blade. Still plenty of strength. To this day, I still get people, somebody said this on a short, they were like, that's a bad design. That's a bad design. There's a hole in the blade. It makes the blade pretty weak. You idiot! What are you doing with the blade? You're telling me you're pushing the blade into stuff and prying right here? You're worried about it snapping right here? You forehead of a human being. That's not what you do with a knife. That's what you do with a pry bar. Idiot. I would much... I can't believe people still think that. My grandpa taught me to just stick the blade in and pry. So it doesn't, it's dull, but it's a good blade will pry 2 bricks apart. Stupid. There's no reason. Use a pry bar. If you still think that, you're wrong. You've been walking around being dumb for way too long. Get smart. Use a knife for cutting. Anyways. The blade's cool. It works. Slices. Fit and finish all the way around. Kunwu is perfection. They are professional. This OEM work is professional. They're very, very good, which just makes the price that much more impressive. Diamond texturing. Kunwu was the first company to get it absolutely perfect. Like when I envision diamond textured titanium, I got a certain look in mind, and God, they nail it. That is freaking gorgeous. The right amount of traction. Not so much that it's going to irritate your hands or immediately fray up your pockets. It will over time, but it's functional. It makes titanium grippy, right? But not too grippy. You don't want it to be insane. Same way with their jimping, right? It's just good. Up the reverse grip, if you're, whatever. If this is your life, right? If you live the tactical life, then yeah. Jimping right there. It's just nice. It feels good. The edges nicely chamfered down. Long chamfering. They've hit it here. They've hit it here. Really nice. Just a very, very nice touch. They've outlined the texturing with that. It's a distinct line that goes all the way around. Really nice look. It's just God, it looks good. It's a way to go. They just Just cap it off there with a nice Damascus pivot collar. Not zebra anodized. No, it's Damascus. A little tiny piece of Damascus, but it's still Damascus. They do it on both sides. Backspacer, milled. They did prioritize the pocket clip. I'm sorry, the lanyard hole over the pocket clip, but I mean, you can see how they did this, right? Either way, had they not included this hole here, it's not like the pocket clip can go up any higher, so I can't complain about that too much. But hey, lanyard people, look, you got it. You got a hole, right? If you're left-handed, very easy to manipulate. You can pinch it out, right? You can even, I've never done a left-handed front flip. You can totally do that too, and you can put the pocket clip on the other side because the pocket clip is symmetrical. I also like that they kept everything. I don't know, Kunwu, I don't think we need to put Padre right here. I think people are going to remember this one. Vanax is fine. They kept everything else. The presentation side of this blade is perfect. Absolutely perfect. They got the unique pivot, and they put the Kunwu logo on the clip, which I think is just fine. In and out of the pocket, it's fine. I mean, you could say they should have milled a bald spot under the clip, right? But then they'd have to put it over here, right in the middle. You don't want to do that. In and out of the pocket, it's plenty fine because this is flat, knocked down. There's no sharp edge of the pocket clip whatsoever. Nice little ramp, right? It should rise to meet most pocket seam thicknesses. Steel lock bar insert doubling as the over travel stop. It's actually an internal stop pin attached to the blade, riding on little channels on either side of the titanium frame, which is great. It adds stability without sacrificing smoothness because you have one additional contact point versus a traditional stop pin that's just contacting the tang of the blade. So I like that. No blade play, up, down, left, or right. I've never experienced blade play with the Kunwu. No lock stick whatsoever. No pivot lash. Very consistent and a nice click. Sorry, I had my hand on that lock bar. Oh, that's nice. And we have perfect centering, of course. What does this knife come in at? $300. That's pretty expensive, yeah. But again, textured titanium, Damascus pivot collar, milled backspacer, milled clip. Wonderful design. Wonderful. Premium manufacturing. Oh yeah, and that's right, Vanax. This is worth it. It's worth it all day. It's absolutely worth it. Are you kidding me? $300? Oh man. Absolutely. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Highly recommended knife. I love this knife. It's going on my most recommended playlist, and it's also going on my favorite knives of all time. I don't know literally the only thing that I would change is don't put Padre on the blade. That's it. I have no other critiques. I love this knife. It's wonderful. Pick it up. If you like, I mean, it's a little bit on the larger side, but it's not massive, right? It's a little on the larger side. If you're not into that, then it may not be for you. But outside of that, wonderful. The Padre is killer. That's going to be pretty much it. Thanks again to Kunwu for sending this in. Links for this guy down in the description. Oh yeah, I forgot to admit. I forgot to also add. There are two versions of this: satin, and then the tumbled that you're seeing here. There's also an actual lefty version. That's right. Left-handed people, you don't actually have to buy a right-handed frame lock and just flip the clip over to the other side. You can. Or you can buy a left-handed frame lock version of this. I definitely should have included that earlier on in the video, so sorry about that. Anyways, please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.